Hi, this is my review of A New Dawn, version 0.4, an expansion for Era the Consortium, the role-playing game. This expansion introduces something quite significant to the campaign setting of Era the Consortium. It introduces psionic powers. And that's quite interesting and important because in Era the Consortium there is somewhat of an atmosphere of hard sci-fi. Despite the weird alien races, things have a certain level of believability based on things that you would expect from the current state of things here in our reality. But with A New Dawn, they introduce these extraordinary abilities to affect the minds of others. Now let's talk about the quality of the PDF. However, keep in mind that this is version 0.4, so everything is pretty bare bones. Well, you have awesome looking illustrations, and everything is well organized and explained as well. But the graphic design of the entire document, as I was telling you, is pretty bare bones, so I still can't make any comments on how it's going to look. Considering there are many things that still need to be added and refined, the document looks pretty good. So it's going to be quite exciting to see how they are going to further flesh out this document in the terms of the rules and also of the thematic elements, because there is some fiction, there's a good degree of stories concerning the experiments carried out with the new psionic abilities, but those things could be expanded. We'll have to wait and see. Now let's talk about the contents. The fiction gives you a good overview of the state of things from two perspectives. From that of prisoners and that of a person trying to train himself in the use of psionic powers. I'm not going to talk too much about this particular aspect, that is the origin of psionic powers in Era the Consortium, because it could be a spoiler. But let's just say that someone with good intentions tried to develop and research psionic powers, but the research was quite incomplete and it was stolen. So pretty much every faction has taken this research and used whatever they want with it, sometimes with disastrous results. Because sometimes they kidnap people to turn them into test subjects or guinea pigs. But there are also some others that carry out psionic research programs or training programs that accept volunteers to be trained into this new discipline and develop their powers. I found that the depiction of those that were kidnapped to be experimented upon is quite well done. You can really feel the despair and the perhaps anxiety and overall that bleakness of not being able to escape from a facility who does not care about you and just wants to modify all things, put things into your mind, sometimes through the means of other psionics. It's quite an invasive process. There are other psionics that serve as sort of like captors, and they start manipulating the test subjects and forcing them to do this or that. So the entire storyline from that perspective, it's very well done in my opinion. Overall, I only found a few errors in the document, and I'm going to inform Ed Jowett about them. Ed also accepted to receive feedback from me from what I think of the document, because as I was telling you, it's version 0.4, there are still many things that could be added. So I'm going to send him some of my ideas in case they are useful for the finalized document. And on the side of the person that is training himself to become a better psychic or psionic user, it's also quite interesting, but when compared to those prisoners, those test subjects, he has a better end of the deal. So it's nice that you get to see both sides of the situation, and that helps you decide on what type of campaign you're going to handle. Besides that, you have an introduction to using psionic characters and all the information on backgrounds. Maybe your character is a test subject and he escaped from a facility, or maybe he's a volunteer. So those are the two ways that you could handle a campaign for now. And you also have a list of quirks, like mentally overstretching, psionic prodigy, always on. I really like the always on one because it's basically that you have like a psionic reflex of sorts when you feel, for example, you feel threatened, you immediately react using a particular psionic power. And when it comes to psionic prodigy, you're quite powerful psionically, and you have an extra psionic power point, but you also begin with a madness point. We'll get into that in a bit. And mentally overstretching, you put a lot into 110% into a psionic attack. So you have, let's say, more potential when it comes to handling your exhaustion points. I'll cover that in a bit. But you also have but not in the sense of spending them, rather because you get a bonus to willpower. Let's talk about the character statistics. You have basically 3 new statistics when handling psionics. You have the psionic power, that is your capability of performing different psionic attacks and using your abilities. But you also have exhaustion. Now exhaustion adds dice to your psionic check, so that's good, but on the other hand you get exhaustion points because of that, and if you get too many exhaustion points, you descend into madness. And psionic madness, it's definitely not a good thing, but it's there to present a sort of like a locking mechanism so that psionics don't get too out of control. Because if you have psionics in a somewhat sci-fi, despite the space opera elements, mostly sci-fi campaign, things could feel like a superhero game. But with psionic madness, you can't be using psionics all the time because you will go insane. It puts too much strain on your mind. You also have a list of specialties like disciplined mind, expanded awareness, trusted touch. All of those present different advantages and characteristics. And so for example, trusted touch allows you to better use your psionic powers on your teammates. And then you have a list of psionic abilities, such as, well, you have offensive psionic abilities such as affect mind, burning in hell, confusion, cloud mind, death urge, deja vu, induce horror, etc. You also have other defensive psionic abilities such as clamp down, empathy, psionic vision, suspend life, team spirit, telepathy. Something that is quite obvious is that the way Era the Consortium handles the psionic side of things, it feels more like something to directly affect the minds of others. This is not about performing all sorts of crazy telekinetic storms where things come flying out everywhere, you start tossing objects at people and such. This is more to do with influencing the minds of others and communicating with others and sensing them. Of course, you have all the rules of using psionic abilities, what type of role you need to do when you perform a psychic attack or some other kind of check. And it's quite flexible because you usually use willpower with these checks, but you could also use other attributes depending on the situation. Maybe you don't know exactly how to, where that your target is, maybe behind a wall or somewhere, and you cannot sense that person, and you could use luck instead. Or maybe you're trying to persuade someone and you could use charisma instead. So you have details on offensive psionic abilities and madness points, as I was telling you. You could have minor visual and auditory hallucinations or major hallucinations. You could even go totally insane, total instability. So you have to keep that in mind. That's really cool. It really helps keep some sort of balance when using powers. You also have details on psionics in combat with exhaustion, fumbles, opposed rolls, because basically almost every ability that you want to use on someone else, it's going to begin a series of opposed rolls depending on the power that you are using. You also have details on removing exhaustion, voluntarily adding exhaustion. And for the game master, you have general advice on how to handle technology, identity scans, memory assist, because once you get psionic powers, implants have to be removed, your body rejects them. You also have details on how important is being a psionic in the current state of the setting, and being psionic, on how it's dangerous, details related to fear, experimentation, and madness. And the document will also include worked examples on how to use psionic powers, but they are not included yet, as I was telling you. This is version 0.4. There are many things that pages in blank that will surely be used to enhance this document further. And now let's talk about what I think of the current version of A New Dawn. I think it's going pretty well. It's taking a good direction, and I like it how they're trying to balance the hard sci-fi aspect to it. I will send some ideas to Joe it. However, those ideas could be too high psionics, to put it in a way. Well, let's see how it turns out, because this is basically just an introduction. This is bringing psionics into the Era de Consortium setting for the first time, so maybe things shouldn't be handled too overblown. So all things considered, and considering the current state of the PDF, I think this is going to turn out into a great expansion. Well, thanks for watching my review. If you have any comments and questions, please let me know. And of course, I will make an update when this product is completely finalized. Well, see you later.